Hi guys, Hector here. So thank you for chiming in. So this was intended to be a Facebook Live. Facebook did not want that, so we're doing it here anyway. This is like
Yeah.
fourth rendition. So I've got my good friend Brian Robinson here, coming to us from New York-ish, New Jersey, I think.
Yep.
So Brian is, I mean, you can see, full-time, busy dad, runs multiple businesses, podcasts, YouTube channel, like the whole deal. He and I hooked up many years ago at a certification. We've built a solid relationship in that time, but then he had a task in front of him of recertifying. So he's going to tell you his story really quick on how he went from being overwhelmed as a dad of three with twins, right?
Yeah, twin
Dad
boys.
of twins, twin boys, being overwhelmed, feeling defeated, 5 weeks out from a deadline, and was already in like defeat mode and just ready to just like kind of throw in the towel, if you will. So I'm gonna let Brian take over, tell his story. So Brian, dude, like welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you were before you and I decided to tackle this project together.
Sure. So I live in New Jersey. I work in New York. I've got a full-time job, a part-time job, a side hustle, and I run a company and co-run a company with a buddy of mine. So I think that's 6 daily responsibilities in total. Husband to Sharon and the father to this little guy, his twin brother, and my daughter, who's a year older. And, kettlebell instructor, precision nutrition, all the things. But where I was before.
See you guys,
No.
busy dad
Yeah.
stuff right here.
Can you give me like a half an hour? Where I was before we hooked up was essentially trying to handle all of that stuff, managing all of these multiple responsibilities, as best I can, and trying to keep the fitness plate spinning, and it just stopped becoming a priority. And I've been in that place before, and I was able to kind of dig myself out. And I actually went back to a program that I was doing before Hector and I got close that I needed to prep for level 1, and I was 5 weeks out from having to renew for a third time. So, I was really frustrated, and I actually even reached out to the master instructor who was leading up the certification, just kind of matter of factly, like, what would happen if I wasn't ready? Like, what happens if I fail the press or fail the snatch or fail anything? And her response was, well, then you go through the weekend as a participant. And I was like, well, that's not going to work. So we got to do something. So I reached out to my friend Hector, who, you guys know and love. He is like my kettlebell Yoda. So I reached out to him and said, hey man, look, here's the deal. I've got to snatch the 28 kilo 100 times over my head for the SFG, which is the, strong first Gearia certification. And I've got to renew level 2 also. So I've got to press the 48 kilo over my head, which is 106 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. And at that point, I hadn't touched the 48 except for once to fail pressing it in 2 years. So That's where I was when we met.
Cool. So unpack a little bit there. So for those that may be watching and have no clue what Brian just said, so strong first is kind of like the gold standard when it comes to kettlebell training. It's kind of like, I guess, I don't know, the Olympic stage, if you will, for like kettlebells. It's like where the top trainers go to get good at this niched piece of expertise. And so one of the standards for him at a level 2 is pressing half his body weight. So everything's categorized. So for Brian, that happened to be just 106 pound kettlebell and snatching a 62-pound bell for 100 repetitions. And if you don't know Brian, because he's sitting here, he's 6'8", 72-inch wingspan, you said?
80 80-inch wingspan.
80-inch wingspan, okay?
Yeah.
That is a long way to press. So for him, pressing and probably squatting, his body really may not like those things. Right. But you still got to do it. But, so anyway, so he had to get this thing done, was already kind of like in defeat mode, and knew that he had to come up with a solution, right? So hadn't really pressed in like 2 years, tried it, wasn't working for him. Then you and I connect, and I tell you something that makes you probably doubt, like you're shaking your head right now. So so then what was your skepticism? So I tell you what, when you and I get on the phone.
So, to be fair, I called Hector in a panic, and I, what's up? Hey, let me finish this, okay? I'll be right in. Let me finish this. I called him in a panic. I was 5.5 weeks, if that, away from the certification, and I'm like, dude, I am freaking out. I got to press the 48. I got to snatch the 28, and I can't seem to press the 40 for more than one. And I can't, like, the 44 is like a struggle. The 44 feels the way the 48 kilos should feel. And I just super defeated, super frustrated. I'm actually getting emotional even thinking about it. And you say to me, all right, I'm going to put you on this program. I know you have to snatch the 28, so I'm going to make you snatch the 32. That was strike one. Then he says, you're not going to press anymore until the cert. That was strike two. Then he says, you're going to do push-ups. Strike three, I'm out. I definitely made a mistake calling you. Get off my phone. And then he started breaking it down, and I was like, I'm still skeptical, but I'm going to do it because you're better than me at this. So I'm going to do it. So that's where I was.
So yeah, so everything like against conventional wisdom, right? So like there's this concept that's press more, to press more, you need to press more. So more volume, more frequency around pressing. And he's probably expecting me to say something like, okay, we need to grease the groove. We need to do this. We need to do that.
Yep.
Instead, I'm like, no overhead pressing. We're going to work on body weight push-ups, which is not kettlebell related at all.
No.
And you're going to snatch a bell that you never really trained with before. And so
with a straight face. You said it to me with a straight face.
Yeah. So tell us, okay, so here we come, right? So we're less than 5 weeks. You do it just to be like, okay, screw it. I'm just going to do it. What have I got to lose? I'm already not seeing progress anyway. Tell us a little bit about some of the breakthroughs. So here we are, 3, 4, 5 weeks later. You told me the story. So now I want you to tell them, like, tell us about that journey through it. Cause I know I got several pretty text messages and voice messages and is it GIFs or GIFs or whatever?
Yes, one of those.
GIFs about how you felt about me in week 2 and week 3. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
What breakthroughs did you have?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, just to walk you through it, I think there were several middle fingers, several. I think I remember I set an alarm on my phone to tell you that I hated you after every single training session. That really happened. And there was a couple of days where I thought I may have forgotten. So I just texted to ask you if I told you I hated you that day. And had you said no, yeah, I would say, all right, cool. I hate you. Goodbye. But, look, that was the first couple of weeks. And then by week 3, I still hated you, to be clear. And the push-ups were dreadful. But I started to feel like, okay, like that snatch session wasn't too bad. And I remember specifically one night, it was about 8:45 at an Equinox where I trained. And I had parked the 32 down from a 36-second set. And if I remember correctly, you had me doing one snatch every 2 seconds. So I just finished 18 snatches on one side with a kettlebell that I've never snatched more than 10 in my entire life. So I had just done it 18 times in 36 seconds once. And I was like, oh, all right, that wasn't too bad.
Right.
The push-ups were always bad, always. And at the end of the workout that day, I texted you and I was like, look, I hate you, but today wasn't that bad. So for me, it was kind of like I started to feel different kind of deal. I actually lost a pant size, which was random. And just generally felt a little bit more prepared just for the day, like my days, 15, 16, 17 hours sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I get to the cert, I get off the plane, and I'm nervous. I think I texted you the night before, like, dude, I'm freaking out. And the day of, I get to the cert, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. So it's me and a guy named Jeremy, and the master instructor had told us to bring our bells over. So we brought over 40 to warm up, 40 kilo, 44 kilo, which was his press weight. And then I brought over the 48 kilo, which was my press weight. So he went first, and he asked me if I wanted to warm up after. I'm like, sure, I'll warm up with you. So he bangs out a couple 40 kilo presses, and I mean, they were picture perfect. They were really good presses, like military grade presses. And the master instructor comes over after watching me warm up with the 40 and goes, are you guys ready? And we're like, yeah, we're ready. So he goes over to his 44, cleans it, presses it, racks it, puts it down. And it was perfect. There was nothing that you could say about it that was bad. So she passed him on his press. And she said to me, do you want to warm up with the 44 before you get to the 48? And I'm like, for sure, definitely. So I walk over to the 44, I clean it, rack it, press it, bring it back down to the rack, put it on the ground. I'm like, okay, that wasn't too bad. And what she says to me next blew my mind. She was like, oh yeah, that was good. All right, you passed. And I was like, wait a minute. And I looked down and I had pressed the 48, but it actually felt like the 40 did that day.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. So I was like, And look, I tend to be a bit of an emotional guy. So I got a little emotional in the moment. I text my wife and I text my mom and told them that I had passed the press, which was one of the two things I was freaking out about the most. And then I text you. But my text to you is very much like, dude, call me right now. Like, I have to talk to you right now. So he gets on the phone and I'm like, you're not going to believe what just happened. And I told him what I just told you all, that I literally had picked up the 48 and it felt like a toy, a big toy in my hand.
Nice.
Then we go over to the snatch, and my cadence for years has been 10 left, 10 right, park the bell to the top of the minute. 10 right, 10 left, park the bell to the top of the minute. And that's kind of the standard that you're taught when you take the certification.
Right.
But I got to 10 and I was like, oh, I got more. So I got to 20 on that left arm. And I was like, I'm still not that bad. So I did an appropriate switch, and I did 10 on the right and still felt fine. Did 20 on the right and parked the bell. And I'm at 40 snatches already, and I'm a little less than 2 minutes in. And then the rest of the snatch test was obviously a snatch test. It was a challenge, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I've ever done before. So I think that I can say this with absolute confidence. I will never doubt you again, ever, when it comes to anything strength related, ever. Also head shaving. We should always collaborate on head shaving. Yeah. But no, I'll never doubt you again when it comes to strength training programming, ever.
Nice, man. I definitely need help training in the head shaving because I just do trimmer. You've got the ninja skills as far as that goes.
Right.
Cool. So, dude, like that's first off, that's like amazing. Like I can't even that was your moment, right? The moment when you do it and you're like, oh, dude, like I did this. There's something to be said about that sense of accomplishment, right? Yeah. So like you mentioned, so what were some odd side effects? You mentioned like pants were fitting looser. So there's obviously some fat loss there. You made jokes about being a C cup and things like that. Dude,
that's right. That's right.
You made jokes around that. And, but like, did you notice anything change in your life? Just the way that you move day to day, how you play with your kids, or how you anything of that change? Or was it mostly like, damn, I feel good, got some fat loss going on? And was it just mostly performance based?
No, actually the performance was a cool cherry on top, but I move around a lot. I'm in New York. I'm walking. I'm doing this. I'm doing the thing. Da da da. So by the time I get home, I'm done. After a 16-hour day, I'm done. I'm going from Five Eye to Soho to Midtown to Uptown to Midtown to Soho to Murray Hill. If you're from New York, these places all make sense. And I got home and I'm just done. But as I'm starting to train, I feel like I don't want to eat as bad. So it's like, all right, I just did all of that work. I don't want to ruin it with Chick-fil-A, although it's delicious. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, I get to spend a lot more time with my kids. So instead of like me sitting on the couch and just like recovering from the week, I was able to like pick them up, throw them around, do the other things. And actually a funny story that I didn't tell you was during the training, I knew I was getting a little bit stronger. And my dad is a big dude. He's 6'3", 225, maybe 230, but he's not like fat. He's like a dude, like a man, like he works out. And, he came over the house and we were play fighting, and this was during the training. And I'm like, dude, get off me. Get off me. So he like kept messing with me. So I just picked him up and threw him. Picked him up off the ground and threw him onto the couch. That is not an exaggeration. And you know that that actually happened. I completely forgot to tell you that too. But yeah, I picked him up, threw him. And ever since then, I was like, now you call me daddy. And it's been our dynamic since.
Nice. Yeah. I didn't know that story.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot all about it.
Nice, man. So I think that's a big thing for guys, right? Is like at the end of the day, guys, as men, our purpose is found in our work, right? And so at the end of the day, after working, after running the jobs, after doing the career thing, you get home and you're like, man, I'm just like, don't have any done. But yet you're training at night. So typically a typical program, I think, a couple of days through, but then by the third day, you're like, dude, I just can't keep this going. But like you said, you actually noticed that it was getting better for you, et cetera. And then obviously the carryover is cool, man. So what would you tell someone like on the fence, someone that's like had the same skepticisms as you, like, man, how am I going to have time to do this? I've got a deadline. I've got a goal. I got whatever. Cause we run a men's coaching program. We've got several products and things like that. What would you tell someone that's kind of like on the fence of like, man, I don't know if I should do that program. I don't know if I should go that route. What would you tell someone on the fence, or who would you recommend something like this to?
All right. So I'll kind of answer that question in two parts. I think that if I'm talking to a man who's interested in in something you have to offer, but they're on the fence, and it's related to like, is this going to work? Am I going to be able to like fit this in? Like, what if, what if, what if? Just do it. Just do it. I am a New York minded individual these days, so I live in a sense of skepticism with everything. And even when you and I first got started on this professional tip, and it was like, all right, no more pressing, snatch heavier, and do push-ups. I was like, this dude, he's crazy. He lost his mind. All these years of friendship, and I have to tell him today that he has gone crazy. And not only did I nail it, I never looked like I never went back. Like, you put me on a path, and these programs and these things that you do put me on a path to walk my talk again. And I'm forever grateful. So anybody who's on the fence, I will tell you that not only will this get you where you need to go, it'll keep you there because it scales. It's not overwhelming. And so that's the first part. And who I would recommend this to is anybody who actually wants a program that's fit for them, concise enough that it's not overwhelming, and repeatable. Like, you can do this program on 5 hours of sleep after a 16-hour day. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do it.
Sure.
You can do this program after a fight with your wife and a bad day, on the trading floor. You can do a program like this to bring you down if you are having a tough day, to center you, or to bring you up if you need a little bit more energy. So that's how I'd recommend this program too.
Nice, man. And since you said all that, just something came up because I hear this a lot. I've done this. I think we've all done this. Where there's a lot of us DIY, do-it-yourself kind of guys that are out there. What would you tell someone that's like, oh, I'll just figure this out on my own? Like, for a while, you tried figuring it out on your own. What would you tell that guy that's like, oh, I'm just gonna do this on my own, kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Hector and I'll answer this question in a lot less of a long-winded way. Hector and I are in a similar space. We do what we can to help men become better fathers, better men, better husbands, better entrepreneurs, all the things. But in doing that, you start to get a little bit of an arrogance about what you can accomplish without a team. And I will never succumb to that again. I think that when it comes to anything that is not a core competency, like, this is Hector's core competency. Like, this is one of the things that makes him different than any other person on the internet. And I can tell you that from experience and from being his friend and being in the fitness industry myself. Hector is the best person online to get a program from and to follow. So the DIY approach will get you 25% there, 30% there, and you'll be frustrated because now it's another thing you have to add to your plate. Or you can bring on a partner like Hector, a teammate like Hector, a coach like Hector, however you want to view it, to make yourself feel just as manly, but get it done. And you'll get 100% of the way there and stay on task.
Love it, man. I don't want to keep you much longer. Thank you to all the viewers, watchers, whatever, right, that are watching this. If you got questions, feel free to drop something in the comments below. Share it, love it, like it, however you want to engage with it. Brian, dude, thanks for jumping on, man. Looks like you've got a full day ahead. There's kids back there running around, and you've got your wife to tend to. So thanks for jumping on. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for your friendship. And I look forward to more funny messages and all that kind of stuff, which those aren't going to end because, you're going to continue to move forward. So anyway, man, thank you so much for dropping in and sharing your story.
No problem, brother. Anytime. Anything I can do to help.
All right, guys, we'll see you soon, and we're out. Peace.
All right. Peace.